Welcome to your channel, the Rizki-Produkt official TV, political actors advocating for institutional and structural comprehensive reformation, underpinned by social democracy in the Gambia. Streaming contents from the heart of Banjul City in the Gambia. We are excited to reveal what the leadership in the Gambia is determined to keep tightly concealed, an alarming secret of systemic failures stemming from overwhelming debt. Welcome to another multi-part series video contents we are calling the S-Series of Credit Score. This titled S-Series contents shall be projecting on a country's credit rating in the context of the Gambia and the self-preoccupation and ineffectiveness of its current economic stewardship. Please don't forget to show your support by subscribing to our channel. We hope to bring you more contents of political activism and socio-economic orientation in the Gambia. Let's commence. What is a country's credit rating within the Gambia's sovereign economic environment? A country's credit rating is a crucial indicator of its financial health and creditworthiness. It reflects the ability of a nation to meet its debt obligations, both in the short and long term. Credit ratings are assigned by major rating agencies like Global Credit Rating Company, GCR, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and Fitch. The significance of a country's credit rating includes borrowing costs. A higher credit rating indicates lower risk for investors and lenders, allowing the country to borrow at lower interest rates. Conversely, a lower credit rating, for example, below investment grade, means higher borrowing costs due to increased perceived risk. Investment attraction. Countries with strong credit ratings tend to attract more foreign direct investment. A favorable credit rating signals to investors that the country's economy is stable, which increases confidence in investing. Economic stability. A country's credit rating is often a reflection of its overall economic stability, including factors like political environment, GDP growth, inflation, and fiscal policies. A downgrade in credit rating can signal underlying economic or political instability. Currency value. A credit rating affects the value of a country's currency. A downgrade may lead to depreciation of the currency, making imports more expensive and potentially leading to inflation. Reputation in global markets. Credit ratings impact a country's standing in global financial markets. A downgrade can harm its reputation, making it difficult to negotiate favorable terms with international organizations like the IMF or World Bank. A crucial question to ask now is, what are the implications of the Gambia's credit rating? For a country like the Gambia, the implications of its credit rating are significant due to the following factors. Debt servicing. The Gambia has a high debt burden, with a large portion of its national budget allocated to servicing debt. In 2023, debt servicing consumed over 50% of government revenue, which limited the amount of funds available for other essential public services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure. A lower credit rating would make it more expensive for the government to borrow funds from international lenders or issue bonds, increasing the strain on its fiscal budget. Economic growth. The Gambia's ability to fund critical infrastructure and social programs, which are necessary for economic growth, is tied to its access to affordable credit. A low credit rating could limit this access, slowing down development projects. International aid and relations. Countries like the Gambia often rely on international aid and concessional loans. A lower credit rating could reduce the confidence of multilateral organizations like the World Bank, the African Development Bank, or the IMF, which may impose stricter terms or reduce financial assistance. Investor confidence. A lower credit rating can deter potential investors. The Gambia has been trying to attract investment, particularly in sectors like tourism, energy, and agriculture, but has been a proven difficulty. Any further downgrading of its credit rating will be perceived by potential investors as a higher risk environment, which can reduce investment flows. In essence, for the Gambia, significantly improving its credit rating is crucial for ensuring affordable borrowing, attracting investment, and fostering economic growth. This brings us to another question that the Gambia government does not discuss under any circumstance with the Gambian people that put them in power. What is the Gambia's global credit rating? It is important to note that the Gambia does not have a formal sovereign credit rating from the major credit rating agencies like Moody's, S&P Global, or Fitch. This is largely because the Gambia is a smaller economy with limited participation in international capital markets. In spite of this, the Gambia is assigned a global credit rating from Global Credit Rating Company, GCR, and other smaller agencies. In the most recent evaluation, the Gambia's credit rating was at CCC+, reflecting the economic challenges and vulnerability to external shocks that the Gambia faces. This rating is typical of countries with considerable fiscal constraints, limited access to global capital markets, and elevated debt levels. The Gambia is also under scrutiny by the World Bank and IMF due to its elevated public debt levels. A recent joint debt sustainability analysis by these institutions highlights that the Gambia is at high risk of debt distress, meaning the country could face difficulties in repaying its loans without restructuring or assistance. Though as of 2024, the Gambia's public debt to GDP ratio has improved from 82.8% in 2022 to about 73.1% in 2024. This does not necessarily indicate a decrease in the absolute level of debt. These ratings and assessments affect the Gambia's ability to borrow at favorable terms and can influence investor confidence, making it more costly for the country to fund its development projects. The Gambia's low credit rating remains a barrier to accessing affordable financing, impacting the country's economic outlook. One might rationally ask, with this high risk of debt distress from indebtedness, why is the current government squandering on the low productivity sector, pork barrel projects, self-indulged luxury vehicles, luxury homes, Veblen goods, unsustainable ministerial and presidential budgets, unjustified salaries and employment benefits of some hand-picked civil servants? Anyway, we have these answers for another day on another video content. So, let's proceed with our presentation on the Gambia's credit rating. What are the different categories of credit ratings? This is a significant question as it would lead us to understand how far on the rating scale is the Gambia positioned and the implications of this rating's positioning. Credit rating agencies classify credit ratings into two main categories: investment grade and speculative junk grade. These categories are further divided into subcategories based on the level of credit risk. Due to the high risks associated with the Gambian government's economic activities and policies, the Gambia's current credit rating is CCC+. This CCC+ category of credit rating places the Gambia in the speculative junk grade. Yes, junk, you heard us right. This indicates that the Gambia is at risk of default. Credit ratings are divided into two categories as mentioned earlier. 1. Investment grade indicates low risk of default, with categories ranging from AAA, the highest rating, to BBB, adequate but vulnerable to economic changes. These credit ratings indicate that a country or organization has a relatively low risk of default. Bonds or debts issued by entities in this category are considered safe investments. 2. Speculative junk grade represents higher risk of default. The Gambia's CCC+ rating suggests vulnerability and dependence on favorable economic conditions to meet obligations. This rating is 3 levels from default and 6 below the highest, AAA. Bonds or debts issued under this junk grade rating may offer higher percentage returns due to the higher risks they carry. So, in a nutshell, a low credit rating increases borrowing costs, limits access to capital, and deters investment, making the Gambia more vulnerable to economic shocks. These ratings help investors assess the risk associated with lending money to a government or company and directly influence borrowing costs. What is the impact of the Gambia's credit rating? The Gambia's low credit rating has significant economic and social consequences for the country and its people. Here are some of the major impacts. 1. Higher borrowing costs. The Gambia's low credit rating, currently in the speculative, junk, grade, CCC+, indicating that the Gambia is considered a high-risk borrower. As a result, the country faces higher interest rates on any loans it takes. This increases the cost of financing public infrastructure projects, such as roads, schools, and healthcare facilities, as the government has to allocate more money to servicing debt. That is, more than 50% of the national budget is dedicated to debt repayment, leaving fewer resources for social services like education and healthcare. 2. Reduced investment. A low credit rating discourages foreign inwards investment. Investors often seek safer environments with higher credit ratings, fearing that investments in the Gambia could be lost due to financial instability or a default. For the Gambia, this means fewer investments in key sectors such as agriculture, tourism, and energy, which are vital for economic growth and job creation. Without significant foreign direct investment, there are fewer opportunities for job creation, which in turn increases both unemployment and poverty rates. 3. Debt burden on future generations. Due to its high levels of public debt and low credit rating, the Gambia is dependent on loans from international financial institutions such as the IMF and World Bank. However, the terms of these loans often come with stringent austerity measures, such as cutting public spending. These measures can lead to reductions in government services and subsidies, which directly affects the quality of life for Gambian citizens, particularly the poor and vulnerable. For example, the Gambian government may have to reduce spending on social programs, leading to fewer resources for education, healthcare, and poverty alleviation programs. This is particularly critical in a country like the Gambia, where poverty is widespread, and citizens rely heavily on government support. 4. Currency depreciation and inflation. The Gambia's low credit rating is a likely factor impacting the value of the Gambian Dalasi. As investors are losing confidence to invest in the Gambia, the Dalasi currency depreciates, making imports more expensive. Since it is well known that the Gambia imports much of its food, fuel, and other essential goods, this also leads to the rising inflation currently experienced in the Gambia. Higher prices for basic goods disproportionately affect low-income households, further exacerbating poverty and inequality. 5. International aid and loan restructuring. The Gambia's low credit rating makes it more dependent on international aid and concessional loans with softer terms. However, with this high debt distress risk, organizations like the IMF often impose stricter conditions, which could require reforms that affect public services. While restructuring helps manage debt, it often comes at a cost, such as the privatization of public assets or further cuts in social services, directly affecting citizens who rely on government support for public, merit, collective, and subsidized club goods. It is fair for us to summarize the Gambia's low credit rating in this first series as leading to higher borrowing costs, reduced investment, austerity measures, and increased poverty, all of which impact the day-to-day lives of Gambian citizens.